You're watching HelloNation.
Well, today we're opening the door to personal care homes and assisted living because, of course, we all want to live and age well, but what does that take? Such an important topic. We want to welcome you to our Hello Nation podcast. I am Leah Lando, and we are bringing you the voices of good news because we all can use some good news. Joining us now as part of our Hello Community Care series, the Executive Director of the Pennsylvania Assisted Living Association. We have Susan Saxinger. We want to welcome you to the show. I also want to mention we have Tim Epner with us and Brittany Shaughnessy, also from HelloNation. The whole team is here. And Susan, you're the star of the show this time, so we want to ask you to share with our listeners your expertise in what we're going to talk about today.
Hi, Leah. Thank you so much for having me. It's my absolute pleasure to join you this morning and to provide a little bit of insight into personal care homes and assisted living communities here in the lovely state of Pennsylvania. I'll tell you a little bit about myself and my role here. Prior to joining PALA, that's short for Pennsylvania Assisted Living Association, I was boots on the ground in personal care homes and assisted living communities. I was an administrator for both levels of care. I joined the industry straight out of nursing school, so I'm a nurse by education. And I hate to admit, but I now am entering my 20th year working in this industry. But the most profound thing for me in my work experience is that the passion that I developed very early on in my career for serving older adults and folks that rely on our communities. I really find it a great treasure and a true privilege to be able to work with older adults and to see them thrive in assisted living and personal care homes.
We are so happy to have you, and I know it takes so much compassion, and I'm sure that all of your patients are happy to have you as well. Let's start by talking about the difference between personal care homes and assisted living in Pennsylvania, because there is a difference.
Sure, absolutely. And that's an excellent question to start with. And quite honestly, it's the question I find myself answering the most in this role. Pennsylvania is a bit unique in comparison to the rest of the nation, where folks might often think of what is a personal care home as an assisted living community. So in Pennsylvania, we have almost 1,000 licensed personal care homes and 63 licensed assisted living communities. Both fall under the oversight of the Pennsylvania Department of Human Services. Both are licensed and regulated heavily, but a majority of what folks think of as assisted living is truly a personal care home.
So what kind of, I know we were talking about there are activities and other things there. What is it like?
Well, both personal care homes and assisted living communities provide housing, meals. They help folks with activities of daily living, but the real difference comes down to the care and the coordination. Assisted living residences are designed for aging in place, and they can care for individuals who might otherwise need a nursing facility level of care.
So when families are talking about this option, what should they know? What are they going to find if they choose to go into one of these homes?
Another great question. Families should really start with evaluating their loved one's care needs presently, and then also think about the future. What might mom or dad or whomever need later down the road, depending upon their individual diagnoses, health conditions, or level of independence that they're currently at. The other thing is to pay attention to the feel of the community. So I always encourage families to explore assisted living, explore personal care as a potential option, even if that isn't part of their present plan, so that they can be well informed if they find themselves in a point where they have to make a decision in a quick turnaround time. It's really important to tour the communities and get to know the community and how they will best serve your loved one. And then also pay attention to the interactions with the staff members while they're touring. Are the staff members attended to that individual, and are they approaching your loved one as an individual? Don't pay attention to the glitz and glam of the amenities. Yes, these things are all wonderful, and they certainly elevate the experience that senior living communities provide, but you want to ensure that the basic needs of your loved one are being met in the best way possible.
As you're talking about that, I'm thinking about, I have a son who's about to tour colleges. So it's very similar, right? You need to do your research and really, spend time there and see if you feel at home, right?
Absolutely.
What misconceptions are there about the transition, and how can people help their loved one transition into a new community?
I think the biggest misconception is that family members are not always in alignment with the expectations that their loved one has through their experience of living in a senior living community. And I'm using senior living community just to reference both personal care and assisted living. In my experience, oftentimes family members will look at the robust programs and all of the great amenities that a community offers, and they're not thinking about their loved one as the person of which they are. So if mom or dad was always an introvert and they never enjoyed big group activities, don't expect them to move into a senior living community and suddenly want to go to bingo or suddenly want to go to a social and be in a room full of 100 people. Have realistic expectations and make sure that they're in alignment with what your loved one prefers to do and also how they've lived their life up until this point.
Well, I have a question about that. So when you talk about it, and you finally brought up like seniors, but for a big part of it, I guess I think what is the age of it? Because you say personal care, and I guess my thought process changed on that to go, could it be younger? You talk about the needs of it. Is there a certain age for it? Because I like that you're not calling it senior living, although you did there, but really personal care.
That's an excellent question. Many communities have age restrictions or age policies, and most of them do serve older adults. But what does an older adult really entail? It could be 60 plus, it could be 65 plus, it could be 55 plus, depending on the community, that organization's policies, and the target audience of those they intend to serve.
Yeah, that was a very good question, because I know, Susan, we talked about my sister who had to go into a community at a very young age, in her late 40s, actually, which is a blessing because she found a great fit for her. So if if people do need to look for a community like this before they had planned, what's your advice to them? And how do you talk to your loved one about transitioning to this community if they didn't think they were ready to?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I think the important thing, again, is to really think about the individual that will be moving into the community, and ensuring that what the community offers is going to meet that person's needs. These communities pride themselves on providing person-centered care. So ask the questions that are specific to your loved one, regardless of their age. There are a number of personal care homes and assisted living communities that care for younger adults, just like your sister. So it's important that you're asking the right questions to ensure that it's a great fit.
I got to imagine that's got to be tough, because I know my grandma didn't want to move in. And it's funny because something happened at her house, had to go in for a personal care facility, and she fought it tooth and nail. But then when she's there, she's got friends, she's got this, and couldn't wait to get out. But it's like, why wouldn't you want that lifestyle? And then I got to also imagine for the family, that's a peace of mind for them. You have to see that all the time, Susan, right?
Absolutely. When older adults, in my interactions with folks that are contemplating moving into a senior living community, the greatest hang up that I hear is they don't want to lose their independence. And I think that the important thing is that personal care homes and assisted living communities really focus on maximizing the greatest level of independence for each individual. This is not somewhere where you are going to be forced to sit in a corner and wait until a nurse directs you to your next step or your next activity. These are communities where people go to thrive. They create social connections while having their daily needs be met.
Yeah, let's talk about some of the fun aspects, the fun amenities that many of these communities offer. What kind of entertainment do they have?
Absolutely. The amenities are endless depending on which community you choose. And I think it's important to evaluate the program offerings and ensure they're a great fit for the loved one. Many communities have transportation services. They schedule excursions out into the greater community so that folks continue to have a sense of connectedness to the greater community, whether it be an outing to the local theater or to their local religious organization. Senior living providers understand the importance of all of these types of programs and ensuring that their residents have connections and the right connections to be tailored to their likes and dislikes.
Do you have any advice for listeners who are going to, listen to this podcast and realize they do need to talk to their mom, their dad, their loved one about potentially going into a community eventually, but they don't know how to start that conversation? How would you recommend that they do that?
It's a tough conversation to have, right? So we'll be very realistic going into the conversation and explain to your loved one that even if this is not part of their plan, it's important to explore all options so that, again, when the point in time comes where you might be faced with making a decision that you never anticipated, you have the information already in front of you. You may not want to go to personal care or assisted living, but X community down the road has these particular offerings that are of interest to you. So if you do have to go somewhere, you can make an informed decision.
Any advice for people listening who say, I don't know if anyone else is going to take care of this for me, so perhaps I should do my own research? Do you ever deal with people who come individually and say, I want a plan for later in my life?
Absolutely. In my career, I have worked with a number of individuals that are the sole decision makers that make all of the decisions on their own behalf. Perhaps they don't have children or they don't have an extended family to support them in the decision making. Again, I think the best tactic is exploring all options. And I wouldn't suggest that only for senior living communities. Explore independent living communities, skilled nursing facilities, and all of the options that are available to older adults or folks who might be needing some support in their daily living.
Any changes or innovations or programs or advocacy efforts perhaps that you are the most excited about?
That's a great question and a loaded one. And I will say that the association, one of our highest priorities is advocating for assisted living in Pennsylvania to be covered by Medicaid waiver coverage. So our state is very unique in the fact that personal care and assisted living are both private pay environments. And I think that is something that is very important to note for family members and those that are considering senior living now or in the future. There is no financial structure to support someone living in either setting in Pennsylvania present day. So we spend a great deal of time educating Pennsylvania lawmakers on the importance of personal care settings and assisted living settings and how their support in having assisted living be covered by Medicaid funding would be critical to keeping folks in a home-like setting that is more cost efficient than some other institutionally based settings.
Well, sticking with the theme of good news, any other good news that you want to share? Perhaps something that's changed you said you've been in this industry for 20 years. Anything positive that you want to highlight? Anything else?
Leah, this is all about helping people live well at whatever point they find themselves in life's journey. So the good news here is that we know the assisted living model works really well. And I am incredibly passionate about educating people on assisted living and personal care because when families understand their options, they can make informed decisions. And oftentimes they're faced with making these decisions in such critical points in their life, right? The communities support older adults by promoting independence, connection, and a meaningful quality of life. That is the most important factor. And we need to make sure people have access to all of those things.
So grateful for your expertise today. And this is a good time for us to play a game. So it's called Hello Goodbye. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to read a statement. And if you agree, if it is true, you say hello and elaborate on why. If it is not, you say goodbye. So the first one is continuing education for professionals, residents, and family members is crucial.
Hello. That is absolutely true. Education is key to quality care, whether it's informing family members of the options that are available to them or the resident that is considering the next level of care to best meet their needs. As an association, as I mentioned, we spend a great deal of time educating lawmakers so that they can make informed decisions when they're considering legislation that would influence or support personal care homes and assisted living communities.
Communication so crucial here. So the next question, and is this hello or goodbye? Personal care homes and assisted living programs are a one-size-fits-all approach to care.
That is a big goodbye. It could not be more false. As I've mentioned multiple times throughout our conversation, these communities are designed to provide person-centered care, and the care is really tailored to each individual's needs, their preferences, and their lifestyle.
The next one, personal care homes in assisted living are only for residents who are completely dependent. Hello or goodbye?
Goodbye. That is a common misconception. When we do education, one of the key takeaways we try to leave with folks is that personal care homes and assisted living communities are not nursing homes. So residents are independent. We support the maximum level of independence, and the goal is always to support folks at that highest level of independence as long as possible.
All right, the next one, assisted living in personal care homes can be short and long-term care options.
Hello. That's a great point. And yes, they can serve as short-term and long-term care options. Oftentimes folks think of this as a permanent transition, but many personal care homes and assisted living communities offer respite stays. If a family that serves as a primary caregiver, if they're traveling, they can have their loved one stay in a assisted living or personal care community for a temporary stay. And it also gives that individual the opportunity to try it on for size, right? See if they like the community setting to best meet their needs.
Is that known more? That's incredible. Like, I feel like that one's got to be the one to get out there.
Mm-hmm.
It absolutely should be. In my experience at the community level, we largely promoted our respite stays and we encourage folks to come try us on for size.
And when they do you find often they stick around or come back?
Yes, we would have repeat visitors. So maybe the first experience was great and the individual appreciated that it was short-lived. But when it came to the point in time that that family needed to make a permanent transition, we would find those folks returning back to our community.
Yeah, that's a really good point because that could make the conversation easier for our listeners to have. They could say perhaps mom, dad, or to their other loved one, Let's go try it out. Let's see what you think.
Let's use it as an opportunity to go on vacation.
There you go.
Yes.
Who doesn't want a good vacation?
All caregivers need respite, right? Caregiving is a tough job. No matter what capacity you serve in, everybody deserves a break at some point in time. Some of the communities offer, the day in the life of a resident at said community. So that's another thing to ask about when families are touring or visiting communities and considering them.
One final hello or goodbye question. So when people think of community care, personal care homes and assisted living should be in the picture.
This is a hello. Again, personal care and assisted living are essential parts of the continuum of care in Pennsylvania's long-term care structure. Don't discount the setting. The setting is a social model that helps people thrive and gives folks a sense of purpose in their daily living.
Been in this for 20 years. Like, you're clearly the expert in it. What is, sometimes it's hard to have just one. What is your favorite memory that gives you chills still thinking about it? Like, this is why you do what you do, or the story that you heard from somebody that you're like, that really is, that resonates with you. And maybe it isn't even you. Like, it could have been a story from some of the other members of your association that like reminds you and others, like, this is why we do what we do.
I had the privilege and challenge of leading a community through the COVID-19 pandemic. And I think the most profound experience for me during that point in time was being able, sorry, I'm going to try not to get emotional here, being able to be connected with folks when they couldn't physically be connected to their family members. Being able to offer moments of love and compassion, to spend time with people when they truly needed social connections, will probably be my greatest takeaway in my entire career.
Susan, thank you so much for all you do. I know that all of us talking right now and people listening realize how important it is to have someone who genuinely cares, caring for our loved ones. So thank you.
My pleasure.
Is anything else you want to add?
Explore all options available to you and to your loved one when you're thinking about the next steps in life's journey. And know that there are communities out there ready and willing to care for you or your loved one to the best of their ability while partnering with meeting individual needs.
Yeah, they really become your family. And I know that's the case for my sister too. Everyone taking care of her is like family to us. So Susan, thank you so much. Thank you for your time today. We truly appreciate it. We know our listeners appreciate all of your expert advice. And we want to thank all of our listeners as well for joining us for HelloNation, where good news travels fast. And we'll see you back here soon.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for watching HelloNation.